Funnels are pretty much designed to be linear, but that does not mean that the way you optimize them is going to be that way. So typically there'll be steps in a funnel: step A, step B, step C, step D. And the way that you're going to optimize it is you're going to start with step A, and then when that's hit KPI, you're going to go to step B, step C, step D. But the later on you go in a funnel, the harder it is to gather enough data to make concrete decisions with your optimization, which means that it might make more sense to optimize at an earlier stage in the funnel. But there's also going to be a point at the earlier stage where you optimize it so much you don't even really know. So let's hop on Figma super quick so that I can show you how to optimize your funnel and how to approach those different variables. So here's my simple diagram in Figma, and as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. For example, this is going to be a high ticket book a call funnel, right? So let's go ahead and replace this with close, because that should be like that. So YouTube ad to close, right? So YouTube ad, lead capture, VSL webinar, call, close. Simple funnel. A lot of people are running this, gets good results. And so what you'll see is that I've used this kind of line to break down basically how much data you have to work with as you go down the funnel, right? Obviously, the way that a funnel is, it's like this, which means that you're gonna have less to work with on the end of it, right? And so you might end up booking, you might get a 1,000 people to watch the ad, but only, you know, if it's like, let's say you get 1,000 people to click the ad, right? So then of those people, only 100 people will actually opt in, right? And of those opt-ins, only 30 will book a call, right? Of those calls, only, if it's a close rate, 20%, right? 30. So you're looking at, what's that, 15, 10, something like that. I think it's a little bit less than 10. So like 5 calls or something like that, right? And so you're basically going down the stage, and you have less data to work with as you get down. So yeah, you have 5 calls, but 5 calls is not enough. Is not as much data to say that your process for sales calls is right or wrong, or make a decision on it compared to 1,000 people who have watched a YouTube ad. So that means the decisions that you're going to be making at the front end of this funnel are going to be way more sound and concrete, and just overall better and more impactful than the decisions you make later on. And of course, this also means that anything that you fix in the front of the funnel will have a huge effect on the back end. So even though your close rate might be 10%, if you can double your click-through rate and double the amount of traffic going to a lead capture page, then that means you can still get that theoretical like 20% close, like in terms of how much traffic's just coming through. So you have to kind of realize that there's going to get a point where you can only improve the front end stuff so much before it becomes unreasonable to improve it anymore, or it just takes a lot of effort or time, or the margin that you get out of improving that ad just isn't worth the amount of effort, right? And so then it makes more sense to optimize stuff here. But as an overall like rule of thumb, obviously anything that's in these kind of like later back end stages, it's going to be harder to make stuff for it, optimize for it, make changes to it, and you have less data to work with, right? Because you have less people that are watching the VSL and webinar versus the YouTube ad. So you have less data to work off of with that, you know? And same thing with calls. And not only a VSL is harder to make than an ad, the webinar is way harder to make than an ad, right? A calls to fix your sales reps or fix your sales process is probably harder to make than a YouTube ad, you know, or to fix a little bit of copy in the lead capture form. And same thing with your sales process, your close percentage, right? So you just have to keep that in mind, that there's going to be like different levels of difficulty to actually optimizing it. It's not necessarily linear. All right. There's going to be a point where you're going to look at the funnel and be like, okay, yeah, the close percentage, could be better, but you know what? Let's just focus on really dialing in that lead capture. Let's see if we can raise that opt-in 5% more and see how that does with the funnel, you know, and keep the close percentage the same. And if you're hitting your target at the end of the day, then it doesn't matter, right? So you don't just want to approach it linear with a linear mindset and go in there and be like, okay, YouTube ad, lead capture, VSL, call, close, done. You don't want to do it like that. You might need to do the YouTube ad and focus on that for a while. Once the click-through rates are up on there and their lead capture is doing good and all that stuff, then you can go back and be like, okay, let me see if I should actually focus on optimizing that VSL some more, or maybe I should go back to the YouTube ad, or maybe I should do the sales process, see what's there, right? You don't have to approach it linearly. In the beginning, you can, just because you're trying to get data in the funnel anyways, you're just launching. But as you keep analyzing your funnel and you keep getting more data, it might make more sense to optimize something else instead. As you can see, it's easier to get 100 clicks than it is to get 20 opt-ins, and 20 opt-ins is less data to work with than 100 clicks, obviously. So that means that the decisions you make with the opt-ins, like in terms of like what the opt-ins are doing, you have less data. You don't know as good. The VSL is same as the YouTube ad. Like, you don't know if it's working good or not until you get the 100 opt-ins, which costs way more money. So anything on this right side will cost more money to optimize, right? Same thing here. It is easier to make a decent ad than it is to improve a sales rep's performance, you know, and do all the training and the mental mindset stuff that comes with having to do that, right? And you have more data to work with closer to the front end of the funnel. So anything here, you have more data to work with than over there, just because of the nature of the funnel. And data is important, right? To make a decision based on 2 calls, even though, yeah, those calls did cost you $500, but to make a decision just with those 2 calls is very little data. Whereas if you had 200 opt-ins, way better, and it's cheaper. So it might be easier to make decisions on this, right? Yeah, only focus on back-end metrics, of course, when it's efficient enough to do so. So when that sort of balance between the effort and the data that you have, when that balance sort of sees itself with that backend, then you can start actually optimizing that part. But until then, it probably makes more sense to just keep optimizing your front end stuff, since that's way easier. And yeah, you might not be getting the KPI, you might not be hitting the KPIs you want on the back end, but if you can just keep throwing even more traffic in the front end, it'll make up for itself. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. Funnels are not to be optimized linearly, basically, unless you're just launching them. It probably will make more sense to go ahead and approach it more from the side of what needs optimization the most, just like looking at the data like that, instead of YouTube ad, lead capture, VSL, call, close, right? So I hope this was insightful. I just wanted to share this with you guys as an insight I found while optimizing my clients' campaigns. If you have any question, DM me, message me. I'm always available. I'll answer any of your questions. Hope you guys found this valuable, and I'll see you guys in the next one.